Hi, and welcome to Own Your Divine Light Show. I'm Janet Miller, and I invite you to listen to the dynamic, insightful, and intuitive Sherry Gaba. Sherry is a licensed psychotherapist and life coach who helps people cope with addictions, trauma, and mental health issues. Sherry is a single mother. Once her daughter was old enough, Sherry returned to school to receive her Master's Social Work from the University of Southern California. Sherry is a leading expert on addiction and recovery. She has appeared on many TV shows, VH1 Celebrity Rehab, CNN Inside Edition, Robert Irvine Show, and E!, among others. She has been featured in Cosmopolitan, Women's World, the LA Times, Thrive Global, the New York Post, Marriage.com, and other leading publications. She's also been a guest on many Sirius XM radio shows. Sherry is the author of best-selling book, The Law of Sobriety, which addresses recovery from addiction and alcoholism through the lens of the law of attraction. Sherry is also the author of Marriage and Relationship Junkie, Kicking Your Obsession, which Sherry addresses love and sex addiction, and is a contributing writer to the book Chicken Soup for the Soul, Tough Times, Tough People. Sherry maintains a private practice in Westlake Village, California, and is editor of Recovery Today magazine and How's the Recovery Today series online summit. Welcome, Sherry. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Janet. I love what you're doing in the world, and I'm really happy to be here to talk about this subject.
Oh, it's so important to me. And Sherry, you have such a list of expertise on addiction, recovery, and relationships. Can you tell us how you started with that?
Oh, sure. So it started out where I actually married an alcoholic who I am now divorced from. And I ended up getting a job at Promises Malibu, which is a treatment center, one of the first residential treatment centers for celebrities in Malibu, sort of at the same time that I married my ex-husband. And so I kind of ended up in the addiction field, eventually I joined my own 12-step program, Al-Anon. Then eventually got invited to be on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, which morphed into my book, The Law of Sobriety. And it's just been a labor of love. I love working in addiction. I'm passionate about it. Unfortunately, I learned about my own disease, which is codependency and love addiction. Well, maybe fortunately, actually, that I learned what I was dealing with when I was dealing with my alcoholic husband's multiple relapses. But you learn from these experiences, and I'm even a better therapist today than I was before because I really get it up close and personal. I really lived it, and I lived with my own issues. I got very sick trying to help my ex-husband. I got shingles. I lost my hair. I was losing hair. I got a staph infection, or many staph infections, and kidney stones. And I realized that, loving an addict alcoholic and being a codependent love addict can be almost as serious as being an addict alcoholic yourself. Mm. You're just not, addicted to a substance, you're addicted to the person. And so I wrote my book that's out now called The Marriage and Relationship Junkie, because I really want to eradicate the stigma involved with the fact that we make choices in our life and there are reasons for it. It's not because we wake up one day and we, want to end up divorced multiple times or have multiple relationships or lots of loss in our life. There are reasons that we can get into that if we talk about trauma and addiction. But that's my passion, is to really get out there and help people realize that there's no shame in the choices that they've made, as long as we, understand and learn from these experiences.
Oh, I so agree, Sherry. I myself, as I think I mentioned, I've been alcohol-free for 27 years, and woo-hoo. It's like a whole new world. Your life just changes dramatically. You drop all those facades. I mean, none of us are perfect, but I got into holistic healing, and that's what I do to help people. And when you lived it and have walked the walk, you can give so much more because you understand completely where they're coming from because you've been there.
Exactly. I mean, even though, you may have been addicted to a substance, lots of people are addicted to what we call lifestyle addictions or process addictions, meaning love or relationships or food.
Absolutely. And I know codependency is huge. It's huge. And I know I suffered from that. I'm probably still got a little of that in there. And, shopping, you can switch addictions. Like that's one of my, retail therapy is a biggie, And
cross addiction.
You cross addict, and you've got to be so aware of what's going on in your life. It's so
sure. For sure.
And your work is so, pivotal. It's really pivotal. So relationship addiction. So this is a new category of addiction for me, you know, kind of. I really would like to hear more about it. Could you tell us more about relationship?
Yeah, well, you know, you can call it relationship addiction, love addiction. You can call it romance addiction. Codependency is a little different. That's being addicted to a person, place, or thing. You know, love or relationship addiction is really all about not being able to be with yourself and being comfortable and being in dis-ease when you are single. So it means becoming addicted. You know, drugs and alcohol is about being addicted to a mood relationship love addiction is being addicted to a mood altering activity and behavior, and it actually creates almost the same euphoric effects that a mood altering substance would provide. So the relationship is the person's only identity. And so if like a breakup occurs, the addictive lover, that person is, you know, longs for that attachment, longs for those pleasurable feelings of the lost relationships as much as the drug or the drug user misses their heroin, or the alcoholic misses their alcohol. It has the same withdrawal effects. It's just they're missing a person. You know, we talk about when you become an alcoholic or drug addict, you're always chasing that first high. Well, the love addict is always chasing that first love experience. So it's very similar, and it's very prevailing in that, you know, you end up not being able to be with yourself. You know, that's why we call it a disease. You know, you're not comfortable in your own skin. You feel very empty. You feel, you know, it's very serious business, and it can cause people to make a lot of choices in their life that they probably wouldn't make if they had recovery.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's such a vital thing to understand about yourself, because I know I had some of that in my life, and I know when I finally went through the 12-step program, I could go to a restaurant by myself and have a dinner and be okay with that.
Yeah,
and I could even go to a movie and be okay with that, which I could never do before I was in recovery. I could never.
Yeah, that's great. You have a freedom. You have a freedom that you didn't have before. I mean, if somebody's wondering this, listening to this interview, if they have this issue, look at the things that they're doing. Are they over adapting to what others want? Do they not have any boundaries? Are they always saying yes when they really mean no? Are they in terrible fear of letting go of that person, even though they know that person is not right for them? Do they have this fear of the unknown? You know, for me, when I divorced my ex-husband, there were many fears. I didn't want to be divorced again. I didn't think anybody would want me. I was a woman in her 50s, you know, who's going to want me at this point? You know, there's no men out there. I'm going to be alone forever. And so these fears sort of run the show. The other thing is attempting to change the other person. We sort of know the other person isn't right for us, but we try to put them in sort of a round hole, you know, a square peg into a round hole. We kind of fall in love with the illusion of who we think they are rather than really the person that we are with. And we need that other person to feel whole. We're always looking for that other person for affirmation and validation and self-worth. A big one for me was fearing abandonment. I had, you know, some abandonment issues from early on in life. So that was a big one for me. And then the withdrawal symptoms that I talked about earlier, and then just giving up who we are out of the fear that we might lose someone's approval, or we might lose someone. They might go away because we're not being what they want us to be. So we sort of over-adapt to what they want instead of being who we really are.
You know, that is so, I mean, I'm just following my own path as you're talking of what I went through. And I remember my sponsor said to me, Janet, no is a complete sentence. And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought of saying no. I was yesing everyone to death. I was a people pleaser. I was all the codependency you could imagine. And it was just, so you're explaining everything in such a great way that people can look at that and say, okay, is that me? So now what do I do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think most addict alcoholics underneath do have fear and codependency. I mean, when I think of my ex-husband's trigger that took him out, it was really codependency. He couldn't say no at work, and he had a terrible accident, and they put him on painkillers, and that led back to his drug of choice, which was alcohol. And sorry, Mocha, my dog is agreeing.
Protecting you.
Basically, you know, that was his story. I mean, rather than sharing his story, I'll share mine, but I think it's important to understand that really codependency can take a person back out there using their drugs or alcohol because their inability to say no, like you said, their inability to be, you know, just to have boundaries. You know, they just don't even know what a boundary is. He couldn't say no at work, and that led to this accident because he was overworked. and he didn't know how to say, hey, I can't do all of this. And it was, the codependency definitely took him out. There's no question about it. And I now have a program called Wake Up Recovery. People can find it at Wake Up Recovery. And I'm basically bridging the gap for addicts and codependents to sort of work together on these issues. I really do think that, there's programs for the addict, there's programs for the alcoholic, but I think when we bring everyone together, we all have a better understanding of where we're all coming from. And so people should definitely check out Wake Up Recovery. I'm doing a lot in there with codependency.
I love that. I mean, this is so important for everyone because there's so much addiction in the world now. I mean, it's almost getting crazier. I mean, the things I'm hearing about with the young people and the opioid addictions and it's just incredible stuff going on. Yeah. So I know you use some holistic approaches to your work. One is somatic experiencing energy work. What could you explain what that is and how you work for your clients?
So basically, I tell a little bit about my story. I was an incubator baby. I was 2.5 months early. I didn't have that early bonding with my mom. And so that really set me up for early trauma and becoming a love addict immediately because I didn't get what I needed. I didn't get that attachment and that nurturing and that bonding and that the closeness that you get when you're first born and you're in the world. And I didn't have that. I didn't touch my mom for 2.5 months. So I had a lot of trauma inside myself and other people can relate to maybe other trauma. There can be, you could have been neglected. You could have had alcoholic parents. You could have come from a divorced family. You could have been a parentified child where your parents treated you like a little adult. And so you never really got what you needed. You were maybe neglected, God forbid, molested, or parents abandon you, whatever it is. What happens is it sets you up for being really uncomfortable inside and having a lot of trauma inside of you. And so what I did is I worked with a therapist that helped me get that trauma out. And really the way you do that is just being aware of the trauma in your body and then releasing it as you think about these traumatic events. And so this is the first time I was able to get in my body and be okay, because when you think of addiction, it's getting outside of yourself. It's like you're not comfortable there, so you're going to go anywhere but inside yourself, and you're going to go outside into the external world to make you feel good on the inside. And really, it starts with you. It really is about feeling good on the inside. And the way to do that is to work with a great therapist on trauma, whether it's a somatic experiencing practitioner. I also do that. I ended up getting trained in it. You can do things like EMDR. I do also tapping. I think it's really important that if you're stuck in your life and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's really important to look at that past trauma and then learn how to release it, with a practitioner.
That is, I had never heard of that. So that's really enlightening. I love that approach. It's something I had never experienced.
Well, it's not an instant fix. I mean, I think that there's so many roads to recovery. But if you truly have PTSD from early childhood wounds or maybe you were even in a domestic violent relationship, until you get that out of your body, you are going to be stuck and you are going to be kind of spinning your wheels and not able to move forward because you're never comfortable within yourself. You're always outside of yourself. So once you are able to ground yourself in your body and embody who you are, you can do anything. Some of the treatments also that someone can reach towards if they're dealing with love addiction or relationship addiction is, first of all, being on this call with you, Janet. I mean, being conscious, like, oh, this sounds really interesting. This sounds familiar. So just awareness and the consciousness is really the first step. So yay for anybody on this call. And then making a decision to change and learning to stop looking for external solutions for problems. Again, it's an inside job, as I'm sure you've heard that quote. Exploring all those fears that keep you stuck. Getting out of denial, that's a big one. I was in huge denial. I mean, I married an alcoholic who did not have a recovery program. He was sober, and so I just kind of went, oh, well, he lost everything. He will never drink again. And I really had a lot of denial about who he really was. I didn't even really know him. And I didn't really understand the disease. So really, understand who you're with, whoever that person is. Get to know them. I think some of these relationships that are quick and fast and, oh my God, and instant, attraction and all of that. I mean, it feels really good. I don't know if it works always. I mean, I won't say it never works, but I think it's important to sort of take your time, slow and steady, get to know a person. Some of the other things I should suggest is, really examining those early suppressed trauma issues that we talked about that could have occurred in childhood. And self-parenting, really loving that inner child inside of you, looking at little Janet right here or little Sherry and just, giving it all that love that it might not have gotten early on. So becoming really loving and forgiving and compassionate towards yourself, the same sort of compassion you might give somebody else. All of this prepares you for a healthy relationship. And also learning to trust yourself and learning to really just let go that with what's not working. In order to do that, you need some of these other programs to help you let go. It's not that easy just to let go. Finding a really good therapist, maybe attending Sex and Love Addict Anonymous meetings or Codependent Anonymous meetings. In my case, I go to Al-Anon. I used to go to Codependence Anonymous. I think 12-step programs are a great foundation for any sort of addiction.
Yes, I totally agree. I've done them all. I've done AA, Al-Anon. I did Debtors Anonymous. I did codependency. I did ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, all of that.
Wow.
It was really good. I have to say, it was like, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful I had that to help me out, because my dad got sober too, but he never got clean brain. He was always in the stinking thinking. Always there. And he was the dry drunk, really. That's all he was. And
that's who I was married to. And then of course, eventually it just brought him back to his disease, because he just never worked on, the inside issues. I mean, I remember I had a friend whose mother, he died of cancer, and the mother had said, he had said to his mother, tell everybody, at my funeral, get to the causes and conditions, which, in my mind, that's get to the trauma, get to the issues inside, or you will never heal, really.
Exactly. I know my brother, different people are, done things that they need to do to get themselves fixed up. And my dad, everyone was waiting for him to walk in the rooms, and he never did. And, he just got sober, and he said, that's for weaklings. And I'm thinking, it's not for weaklings. It is not.
Actually, it's not for weaklings at all.
No. And that was his old thinking, the old paradigm, the old thinking. So,
well, it's not, alcoholism isn't a moral issue. It's a true disease. And
yes.
The great thing is there are solutions, the 12-step program and all the other things that I'm talking about. There's so much support out there. You never have to do this alone, but you have to, like we say, you have to be willing, and you got to get really honest. Mm-hmm. And after having multiple divorces, and this last marriage sort of took me over the edge in a way, I really had to go, what is going on? What is the issue here? Why do I keep doing this? And I had to really get out of the denial, and I had to really get truthful about who I am and to be really okay with me. So I joined a 12-step program. I took up outrigger canoeing. I made new friends, and it's been really a great journey. And I actually found a healthy relationship eventually. So, it's possible.
Yeah. Congratulations. I mean, it does take what it takes. You've got to do the work, and you look at what it does for your life. It totally changes it. So, Sherry, I know you're digging deep with your clients, and you have intuitive insights, which allows your clients to manifest their dreams and desires. How do you do that?
Well, like I was saying earlier, when you energetically, release all of that toxic energy that's been stuck inside of you, when you finally release it, that's the time where anything's possible. And I think what happens is people are always, as soon as they get to that edge, the edge of all the possibilities, the edge of infinite possibilities, I think people go back to their default. And so, my journey with them is to help them get past that default. Let's not go back to the default. And listen, if you want to go back to your default position, look at the life you're living. Like if I wanted to just keep doing the same thing, going from relationship to relationship, that would have been going back to the default, and I would have had the same life over and over and over again. But I wanted to do something different. So it's about making those changes and being willing to be uncomfortable, be comfortable in your discomfort and get past that default, get to the edge. Deepak Chopra always says, the not knowing is where infinite possibilities exist. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you know what you're going to get. And if you like the life you're living, then, don't go over the edge. But in my opinion, it's well worth well worth the surprise of going over the edge. So,
Yeah, it's the leap of faith, isn't it? It's really a leap of faith.
Literally.
Yeah, it is, because until you do it, I mean, I've walked through many doors myself, as you're saying, and when you get to the other side, I've gotten to the other side and I've said, it's not that bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So just to push yourself even a few steps through the door, and you realize you're going to survive this. You're not going to die, that's for sure, and you're going to be getting all these surprises that you were never expecting.
And then just have compassion for that stuckness, lean into it. Go, okay, there it is. Where do I notice it? Where do I feel it? Okay, I get it. That's how I usually do things. What if I just kind of sat here for a minute and felt what it would feel like to actually take that leap? What do I notice in my body? What's going on inside of me? And just kind of lean into it, make friends with it, because that way you're not running from it. There's nothing to run from. There's nothing to repress. There's nothing to withdraw from. Just be with it. And that's how you release it.
Yes. And, discomfort is not the same as fear. It's just different. It's just, like putting on something scratchy or something that's just a little uncomfortable. You can get through it. And then, like you say, the gifts just keep coming. They really do.
Yes.
So you came to practice this addiction recovery, and your focus, how did you come to focus? The addiction is completely due to your relationships. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, my mother was an untreated Al-Anon, and then later she drank probably more than she should. I don't know if she's an alcoholic, but she definitely drank. She definitely abused alcohol after my dad passed away. So, I mean, I already had the isms in my family, but marrying my ex, that was one reason. And then just working in the field, now I publish a magazine about recovery. I host my own summit, a recovery summit. I'm doing a lot more with codependency. I have a codependency online course that I'm launching in April. I created this Wake Up Recovery, which is a membership site, really inexpensive, where people have an endless amount of audio interviews, and then they also have a whole 10-hour module course on using the law of attraction. That's really another aspect that I haven't really talked about, is that the law of attraction is, what we think is what we create. The thoughts we put into the universe, along with the action steps we take, is really what I believe in. And I even think 12 steps is the law of attraction, because you have a lot of people in the room, putting out energy towards their recovery. I had shown the movie The Secret to some of my clients at a rehab I was working at, and they just loved that movie. That was one of the first movies by Rhonda Byrne that really kind of showed what the law of attraction is. And I took those principles and I created the book, The Law of Sobriety. And so people can find the book on Amazon, although it's going to have a new name. It's going to be called Infinite Recovery. I'm republishing it with a different name, and that should be out in a couple weeks. But The Law of Sobriety is still out there. And this time I'm adding some information about how to find financial abundance, because one of the things I see with addicts and alcoholics is a lot of fear around money, a lot of wreckage, and a lot of limiting thinking around abundance. So I kind of added that in my new book. And then just, after this divorce, I just really had to write this next book, which was The Marriage and Relationship Junkie, because I just feel like that's where I need to be. I've, under the umbrella of addiction, my passion is love addiction and codependency.
Right. So, and now can you tell us more about the new book, The Marriage and the Relationship?
Yes. So the book is really for anybody that thinks they're struggling with love addiction. I mean, there's all kinds of information in there about how to have a healthy relationship. One thing I want, the people that are listening today, the digital age that we're living in, I think it's really important to understand that love addiction can be part of that phenomenon. If you're online dating and you're getting ghosted, which means somebody kind of disappearing and not calling you back, or you get rejected, or you're not getting enough likes, or not enough people are picking you. If you have a, sort of a love addicted sort of personality, that's going to really set you up. So I talk a little bit about that, just about the whole digital dating world. I talk about a lot of information about early trauma. What was your trauma? What did you deal with in your life that brought you to these different relationships? Same, different face, different name, but same sort of person. So it's a really great book, and a lot of assignments in there, a lot of journaling assignments, a lot of meditations, and positive affirmations. I love positive affirmations. I think it's one of the best ways to rewire the way you see things if you, do these affirmations on a daily basis. So yeah, check it out. And, people can go to my website, sherrygaba.com. I have all kinds of free articles. I have a love addiction quiz if they want to see if they are a love addict, and a free ebook that goes with that. I have a codependent quiz. So really, to find me, go to Sherry Gaba, SherryGaba.com, or go to wakeuprecovery.com or Amazon to check out my books.
It's such important work. I mean, as I said, everybody needs it for some facet of their life. They really do. So what other new projects have you got going on? I know you do a lot. So what's the one that's truly fulfilling you now?
I would say just getting my book out there. I'm doing lots of interviews, lots of telesummit interviews, a lot of podcast interviews. I was on Access Live last summer. What else? I think this codependency online course is really my next passion. I'm working on that right now. So stay tuned. If you take the love addiction quiz at sherrygaba.com, you'll get information about it. I'm really excited about that because, I really want to kind of dive deeper with people, and that's what this online course will do. It'll allow people to have the personal feedback from me. It's live, it's coaching live, it's a group format, so it's not as expensive as, let's say, individual coaching. And I just love this idea of bringing addicts and codependents together. It's really been very positive.
Sure, because as you said, that's how relationships are. When you're with an addict, the other one tends to be codependent. And so
we used to have meetings called double winners. And so I don't know if people know what that is in the program.
I've heard of that. Yes, I have.
Yeah, so you're bringing everybody together. And, like I said, I think under every addict, alcoholic, they're dealing with codependency. And I really believe it can take you out just as much as anything else.
Oh, yeah. I saw my mom. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun watching that. So, and you've been involved in many TV shows where which one do you felt hit the mark for you when you were really there for, helping people out? Anything?
I love working with Dr. Drew Pinsky. He's a famous addictionologist. He invited me to be on his radio show, which then eventually turned into being invited to do Celebrity Rehab. It's been quite a few years. I haven't done that show since probably 2012. I've been on his podcast. I've been on his radio show a few times. We stay in touch. I think it was the first time that rehab really was presented to the world on television. And although many people, there were a lot of naysayers that thought, it should be anonymous. The truth is many of those celebrities would not have gotten sober if it wasn't for the show. And some of them passed away just like anybody passes away that's in and out of recovery. It had nothing to do with the show. A lot of people said, oh, this one died and that one died from being on the show. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Lots of people, if you look at any person that's in and out of recovery, let's face it, it's jails, institutions, or death. So I think it was a really positive program to really help people understand what rehab is all about.
Yeah, I was watching an interview you did with a young model that she was very young at I can't think of her name right now, but she was
Janice Dickinson.
Not Janice. There was another one. I know that name. She was younger. She's probably in her 40s now, but she was very young and she tried.
Oh, Jennifer Jimenez.
That's it. Yeah, she was amazing. And just watching her interview and how she talked about where her life went and how, she was left alone. I mean, the industry does not support these kids like they should when they're doing that kind of work. It was shocking to me what she said. And what was she, 17? And she was alone in Japan in a hotel and they had nobody to guide her. And they told her parents she would have one and she didn't have it. And so what did she do? She turned to the parties because at least she was with people. And then she got addicted. And it was just a way of coping with the world. And
it's a cruel world out there.
It's tough, and these are how some people start, and just the fact that she could share so much, and that she was so eloquent, and I think everything she shared was so helpful to people. I mean, I was listening to her and saying, this is such good information.
Yeah, if anybody is interested, they can go to Recovery Today magazine, recoverytodaymagazine.com, and they can subscribe to the magazine, and we have tons and tons of interviews. They're like podcasts, it's a multimedia magazine where we have video interviews, we have audio interviews. It's not just a, look at, I guess it's not it's a magazine app. is what it is.
A magazine app. Oh, that's good. I love that. It's all changing so rapidly, you know.
Very rapidly. I mean, I'm still doing audio interviews on my summit, and I'm going to have to start using Zoom because it's really what people want. They want to be seen, which is everyone should be seen. This is great.
Well, yeah, we like to see each other. I mean, even if it's not in person, we still see each other on like a screen. It's going to be, you know, phone screen or Zoom screen on your computer, and at least there's connection, and it's all about connection, isn't it? Connecting.
That's true. The opposite of addiction is connection, 100%.
Oh, I like that. I have not heard that put that way before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, it's not even just connection with somebody else. It first starts with you. You know, when you do the work and you do the trauma work, you get intimate with yourself. I mean, how can you pick somebody else if you're not intimate with yourself? How can you know yourself if you're not intimate with yourself? So it's really about intimacy and connection with yourself, which will attract, you know, like attracts like. So what you'll attract exactly what you are. If you're in a really good place in your life, there's a really good chance you're going to attract somebody great. If you're feeling insecure, if you're settling, if you're going from one relationship to the next, it's likely you're going to pick the same old, same old.
Yeah, you know, and that's what this show's all about. I was all about telling people that it's important to have self-love in your life. And so you just said it. You have to have that connection with yourself.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, that's number one. That's how I've gotten to do something like this, which I never thought I'd do in my whole life. So,
and it doesn't matter when it happens. You know, I just turned 60 Thursday, and
congratulations.
Thank you. And you know what?
Club.
What?
Joining my club.
Yeah, I mean, it gets better and better. It's a great time. I love it. I think it's an amazing time, actually.
Yes, I think so too. I know I was told that this was my time. I was waiting all my life to have this come up, and this is my time, because before that I was not ready.
I agree. And again, there's no shame. If it takes you till it takes you. You know, if you believe in that we live through affinity, then this is just, you know, a physical experience. We're going to keep on going. You know, consciousness lives on. So this is just our physical body, but where we're going next, God knows.
Right. And when you are so involved with the world and doing service, and plus you're taking care of yourself, there's so much you can give to the world, and that's it's ageless, and everyone's ageless now because they're so active. People are so active, and they're so involved, like what you're doing.
Yes.
Even this is what I'm doing. I'm just so grateful to be doing this work with people.
And I think there's a great appreciation at this age. Now, if you're younger and you're getting it, you know, God bless you. I mean, that's fantastic. But you know, for some of us, we're just late bloomers, and it's not about having regrets. It's just about moving forward.
Yeah, and it's all about being grateful for what you had to go through, because you wouldn't have gotten here if you didn't go that.
Absolutely. And as it goes, the more you're grateful, the more you have to be grateful for.
Exactly. And you know, I used to look at my past and go, oh my God, it was so bad. But now I'm looking at going, wow, look at what I got from this. Look at where it's taking me. It's you can forgive people much easier with that too. You can forgive yourself, you can forgive others, and the whole world changes for you, because you lose the shame and you lose the blame, and your life cleans up. All that cleans up and drops away. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So I know that you have a beautiful gift for us, and I'd love you to share that with us. Of what you. Yeah,
I kind of talked about it earlier, but if people go to sherrygaba.com, or maybe you'll have the link. I have a love addiction quiz where they'll get a free ebook, and then I have a codependency quiz where they can get a codependency ebook. Just go to sherrygaba.com. All kinds of free stuff over there, and I highly recommend you check it out.
Oh, thank you, Sherry. That's really a great gift. And so is there anything you think people in 2019 need to hear? Like, what's your message for people in 2019?
I mean, I'm just thinking what we were just talking about. It's just never too late to make changes in your life and to take the leap of faith. Mm-hmm. And be willing and open to do that, because you have no idea what possibilities will exist when you do take that leap. Everything's possible. Not to be so and if you're having trouble and you're stuck, find somebody that really can help you with that trauma piece. Find someone like myself, or there's all kinds of great people out there that are working with trauma. There's all kinds of systems out there. There's, like I said, somatic experiencing, EMDR, tapping. Really be discerning who you work with. You want to make sure that they really walk the talk the walk. There's a lot of people out there that say that they can do this or that, but really be discerning. Be discerning. You're worth it.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, the whole point about asking for help is there's no shame in asking for help. It takes a lot more courage to ask for help.
Right. And just, again, just being here on your call today, listening to this interview, you've taken that first step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sherry, I really want to tell our audience to give us some comments on how they like the show and everything that you offered to us, which is so amazing. And we love reading. And I know Sherry will give you the feedback too of what we get. And I want to thank you so much for being such an illuminating force of compassion and enlightenment. And thank you for owning your divine light, which is what this is all about for me, and showing people the way to theirs and unlocking their passion and to ignite their authenticity and to create the lives they love.
I love it. Thank you, Janet. Thank you again for having me, and again for everything that you're doing. It was a great interview.
Thank you so much. And I am Janet Miller, and I will see you on the next episode.